I'd like to thank Vice Chair Brass for taking over for me last month. I was absent, try not to be absent very much, but I was in a dilemma to kind of choose family or planning commission. It was my wife's birthday, so I kind of preserved family last month. So my apologies for the absence. Glad to be back, and always glad to see full rooms with citizens here concerned about what we have going on in Mount Juliet. I think it's a wonderful thing to see and to do, and so look forward to seeing what everybody thinks about tonight. With that being said, our first item up on our agenda is to set our agenda. I am aware of a few changes, and so please take note of these changes. Should you be here to talk or discuss or voice your opinions about these, going to kind of share with you when they'll be. We have all four of these have been deferred per the request of the applicant. That would include item 5.4, which is to review the plan of services, annexation, land use plan amendment, and preliminary master development plan unit development for LC Mount Juliet 2, located at 7800 Central Pike. Also deferred is item 5.5, which is to review the land use plan amendment and preliminary master development plan unit development for 13506 Lebanon Road. Also item 5.6, which is to review the land use plan amendment and major PUD amendment for Golden Bear Place, located at 4403 and 4515 Beckwith Road. Also deferred is item 5.7, which is review the land use plan amendment and preliminary master development plan unit development for Golden Bear Place North, located off Golden Bear Gateway. And so if you are in attendance tonight for any of those, just as an FYI for everyone, all of those items are expected currently to be heard at our October 20th, 2022. So our next month meeting is October 20th. It's our expectation at this moment that they will be heard at that meeting, which is October 20th next month. And should that be the case as well, new public notices will go out for each of those projects in question. So just wanted to make everyone aware of that because we will offer up, and I'll read about that in a moment, we will offer up opportunities for citizen comments. However, citizen comments are only in regards to items that we're hearing on our agenda. So those four items have been deferred from our agenda this evening. Outside of that, I'm not aware of any other changes, amendments, adjustments. We'll set the agenda as stated. Next item up on our agenda tonight is our staff reports. Begin with Ms. Hamblin.
I wanted to introduce our new employee in the planning department, Kenny Howell. I think that you all will all find him a familiar face. He's been in Mount Juliet for as long as I can remember. Were you born and raised in Mount Juliet? I thought so. And very active in our community, and we are glad to have him as part of our staff. Thank the BOC for supporting that position, and glad to have full staff back in our planning department.
Wonderful.
I believe Ms. Johnson emailed or mailed you guys a copy of Save the Date for our November the 9th continuing education class. So that's November the 9th at Holiday Inn from 5 to 9 p.m. The last thing I wanted to talk about is we are still meeting with the coordinating committee for Wilson County, trying to update our urban growth bound areas. That is a work in progress, and I hope to have an updated plan for you guys in the near future.
Wonderful.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Here from Public Works, Mr. Shamir.
Good evening.
Welcome.
I'd like to piggyback off of what Jennifer was talking about, the training. We're going to be highlighting Shorty Hunt. He's not here tonight, so I can brag on him for all the good work he's done. He's got decades worth of drafting civil experience, and looking forward to having him share some thoughts and some processes with you guys. So on behalf of Public Works, that's all we've got tonight.
Wonderful. Thank you, guys. All right. Our next item up on our agenda will be our citizen comments. At this time, we'll take our citizen comments. The public is welcome and encouraged to make public comment about any item on our agenda. There will be two opportunities for you to make comments. You may speak now, or you may speak when the item is presented to the Planning Commission. We do ask that you limit your comments to 3 minutes or less. And once again, comments in regards to items on our agenda? Not any deferred items at this point. So anyone that wishes to address the Planning Commission at this time is welcome and encouraged to do so. And please come to the microphone and state your name and address for the record. Seeing no citizen comments at this time, we'll move forward with our next item on our agenda. It will be item 2.1, which is a Planning Commission regular meeting minutes from August 18th of 2022. Adjustments, typos? Got a motion?
Second.
And a second? All those in favor signify by saying aye and raising your hand. Aye. Against? Abstentions? So approved. Next item up on our agenda will be our consent agenda. Begin with item 3.1, which is to review the appointment of Kenny Howe as Planning Commission Secretary. Welcome, Kenny. Item 3.2, the development letter of credit, number TFTS 980479, and I'm assuming FTE 275167 for Mount Juliet Commons, Phase 1, Section 5A, in the amount of $117,289.91 can be released. Item 3.3, review the final plat for Waterford Park, Phase 1, located at 1367 South Rutland Road. Item 3.4, review the final plat for Walton's Grove, Phase 5A, located off Beckwith Road. Item 3.5, review the site plan for Beckwith Point, located off Belinda Parkway. Item 3.6, review the site plan for Grade A construction, located at 9857 Lebanon Road. Ms. Hamill.
Staff recommends approval with any conditions listed in our staff report, and I have a couple of changes for Beckwith Point site plan. Under planning and zoning comments, number 4 shall be reworded to say preserve as many trees as possible and vegetation in the do not disturb buffers. Any disturbed vegetation shall be replaced with supplemental plantings. Number 12 shall read provide enhanced landscaping with black split rail fencing along the proposed road frontage. Provide bricked columns where appropriate. Locations are determined on the exhibit submitted have been deemed acceptable by planning staff. And I have spoken with our fire marshal, and he has indicated that we can delete number 13, provide fire lanes along the western side of building 2. Number 13 can be removed.
Very well.
Did you want to, Shane, speak to Andy's comments on that one, or do you?
Please.
Under Public Works comments number 9, we would like to remove 9A and reword 9AC to say provide LOC or payment as applicable prior to land disturbance permit. So removing for both locations as one of the locations is being omitted with the removal of 9A.
Very well.
But as far as any of the other comments that are within our staff report on the consent agenda, that's what we'll go with as Public Works.
Wonderful. Thank you.
And then the last thing I have
Please.
is for the Grade A construction office. They are requesting a waiver for the commercial design standards, and staff will support up to 10% if you choose to do that. 10% secondary material.
Wonderful. Questions or comments from the commission? This time, I'd like to ask for citizen comments in regards to any item on our consent agenda. Please, come microphone, name and address for the number. See if we can turn it up a little bit. We do have some internal microphones in the room, so maybe that'll help a little bit. Yeah. He just waved at me. He's working on that. How about that? You can hear me a little bit better now? All right. I like that. Thank you so much. Any citizen comments at this time in regards to any item on our consent agenda? Seeing no citizen comments at this time, I'd like to close our planning commission meeting in order to open a public hearing. Public hearing is in regards to items 3.3 and 3.4. Item 3.3 is to review the final plat for Waterford Park, Phase 1, located at 1367 South Rutland Road. Item 3.4 is to review the final plat for Walton's Grove, Phase 5A, located off Beckwith Road. Anyone wishing to make comment in regards to either of those items during its public hearing, welcome and encouraged to do so. Come to the microphone, state your name and address for the record. Seeing no citizen comments at this time, we'll close our public hearing, reopen our planning commission meeting, at which time I'm looking for a motion in regards to the items on our consent agenda.
Motion to approve,
Subject to staff comments.
subject to staff comments.
Second.
Uh-oh. I've got a motion and a second for approval, subject to staff comments. All those in favor signify by saying aye and raising your hand. Aye. Against? Abstentions? So approved. Next item up on our agenda falls underneath the site plan. It's item 4.1, which is to review the site plan for City Station located at 2049 North Mount Juliet Road. Ms. Hamlin.
I'm not going to spend a lot of time going over this. I know you've looked at it very extensively in a previous meeting. Still need to address pulling that monument wall out of the expansion area there on the corner of North Mount Juliet Road and East Division. We still support the design standard waiver for the middle awnings as proposed. I will let Public Works go over the access issues that were discussed in the last meeting. I still have a little bit of concern about the south bypass lane being that 3-inch mountable curb, and you would have to exit that in an emergency onto oncoming traffic. I do still have concerns about that. But other than that, staff would request that any approval be include our comments as listed.
Very well.
Thank you.
Thank you. Shane, Public Works.
Comments are as stated. I was hoping Andy would get here by now with the comments on the roadway. He's at an event with his daughter, so any comments or discussions they've had on the access have not been included on, other than what the comments have been provided on our staff report at this time.
Very well. Thank you.
He
Questions
should
or
be here
comments?
any minute, so.
Yes, sir. That's great. Questions or comments from the commission at this time? Let's go ahead and ask for a representation of this project. Name and address for the record.
Good evening, Joe Haddock, CSDG 2305 Klein Avenue. Thank you for your time this evening. I think we've made some progress on this plan since we were before y'all last month. As Jennifer mentioned, I think kind of really down to a couple comments. I know that in Jennifer's or in the staff summary there, it does mention we have provided the additional landscape screening for the dumpster enclosure that's visible from East Division. I know number 2, we'll talk about the bypass lane on the south side of the project. Right. I know last month we talked about it's in the anticipated use for the south end's a bank, so relatively light drive-through user. So we feel we've worked a good compromise with staff on the low curb concrete island there that could be used in the event of emergency. I know Jennifer did mention that although you are coming in oncoming traffic, the traffic on that joint access is so, minimal to an extent, it does provide a safe way out in the case of emergency or if needed. I do appreciate staff mentioning on their on the first page of the report that the stacking does meet code requirement as shown. I know we talked about last month the Starbucks North up on 70, so we've gone out there and looked. So for comparison, at Highway 70, the Starbucks, you could stack approximately 15 vehicles from their drive-through window around the building out to 70. So 15 cars, the existing facility. This facility, we can stack 15 from our drive-through window to the common access drive at Local Joe's. So comparable stacking to there. If it were to back up and stack out to Division, we could stack another 10 vehicles. So in essence, we can stack 10 more off of the public street than the existing facility we've been discussing. Let's see what else we have. I'll come back to that one. We're currently showing right-of-way reservation areas that would be dedicated in the future with any widening of East Division or Mount Juliet Road. We would request that maintain or stay as a reservation area. The owner's here and can speak to. He would dedicate it at time of construction or as that widening's finalized. It's just really a timing thing right now. If we were to dedicate it, West Wilson would require us to move a substantial amount of water line. And if it happens with the TDOT project, TDOT will pay West Wilson to move the line. So we would ask your consideration of that. Let TDOT fund the water line relocation. We're good to give it up at some point. It's just not today. Let's see. Talked about the drive-through stack. I think Public Works comment 11 about the underground CMP. I think we can just work that out at construction plan. Would that be agreeable, Shane?
Made that comment as future maintenance technologies changed, and we just want to look out for any future property owner that may inherit the site and be dealing with the maintenance issue in a generation. So that's where the comment came from. We're more than welcome to work with Joe during construction plan review on that.
Yeah. And just so this body here is that what we typically do is we specify a thicker gauge steel with multiple coatings on it, which is supposed to have a design service life of 75 to 100 years, which is comparable to concrete pipe. So, and it's easier to perforate the metal than that concrete. So I think the last remaining issue or item would be the right out to Mount Juliet Road. As we discussed at length last month, the location of that right out would meet the current TDOT driveway manual. We also talked about that the highway system access manual is coming online at some point. Nobody knows exactly when. We are really just asking for the opportunity with this project to approach TDOT for their approval, but I need your approval first in order to do so. So that's really, in essence, what it boils down to, right? We just would like this body's call it a conditional approval, right? Ultimately, the connection to Mount Juliet Road would have to be required or approved by TDOT anyway. We're just asking for approval tonight, contingent upon TDOT approval of the right out. So I really appreciate y'all's time and consideration of our requests, and I can answer any additional questions y'all may have.
I got one real quick, just as a clarification. You talking about the movement of the water line and whatnot that you wanted to hold off on that? That's addressing which comment, Joe?
That would be comments 2 and Public Works comments 2 and 3.
Okay. Thank you. Questions, comments from the commission?
I've got one.
Please, Commissioner Rast.
Joe, have you looked at turning and making that U-turn to go into, I believe that's the bank side of the building? Is that turn possible?
To make a U-turn and go back towards Mount Juliet Road?
No, coming onto the site on the south portion of the site towards Mount Juliet Road, making a U-turn to go into that bank drive-through. Is that even possible? In Luke Struck?
It's very hard.
Yeah.
That's really tight.
Yeah.
And I think
That right would be, yes, sir.
you're going to have some conflicts there with people trying to exit, people trying to come in. Shane, have you looked at that anymore, or do you have any comments on that? Basically, that U-turn on that southern drive. Just my concern is more circulation and confusion about circulation.
Like driving through those parking places if they were open?
Mm-hmm.
Is there a curb stop between those parking places where it says 7 and 7? Those parking places right there on the rear.
On the rear of the building?
Yes, sir.
No, because wheel stops are not allowed in City of Mount Juliet. We could run but we could certainly run a post curb down the middle
That's
to
really
prevent
nice,
cut through traffic.
Oh, that's a good one.
making that U-turn.
I
You know
think
what I'm
we could
talking
add
about,
some additional signage.
coming back
Yeah.
towards the building.
Yeah.
I don't see how you can even make that U-turn.
Where he's talking about, Joe, is actually coming in off the southeast corner where you got we're coming out of the strip center onto the drive lane between this proposal and Local Joe's there on the corner. You got one movement you can go straight, right, or left
Mhm.
according to the plan. Then you have one that goes, if you're on that drive lane, you could go right into the
bank traffic.
that's right. That's what he's talking about is your movement
Here.
going in. Yes, sir.
So here, swinging back, David, is that what you're
Correct.
talking about? Coming down the common drive and then swinging back into
Yeah.
the drive-through? Yeah.
Yeah.
I think we could add some additional signage there and make,
I'm just not sure about signage. It looks like, I mean, if even, I wouldn't think even a four Ranger could make that turn. That's pretty tight.
we could make them enter at the far eastern entrance and loop either across the building, the front of the building. To make that turn.
I'm trying to engineer it for you, but I can't. I think just note it as a concern.
Yeah, we can
and
work on that.
just the overall circulation, especially if someone just driving in, that could cause a problem. Okay. Thanks, Joe.
Thank you.
I got, I guess, two more. One is just in regards to the proposed bank right there. Always got to look at everything as far as how it's going to be used today, how it could be used tomorrow. Is there an ATM associated with that bank? And if it is it a drive-through or is it a walk up?
Walk up.
Perfect. My other comment is one that I addressed when we first saw this project. I just want to make sure we get added right there in regards to the one-way drive aisle on the east side of the building or the back side of the building. I know I talked about doing some painting or whatnot there. I think we can work in a kind of a speed table or something right there just to slow that, because you're going to have kind of a little bit of a blind curve as you come through there or come out of that bank.
Mhm.
And just something, because you got your striping right there coming out of the bank drive through. You've got your striping, and I hope will be indicative that says do not enter included in that striping at that point, just to sort of stop or pause that oncoming traffic so we don't have a
Definitely.
right there on that one. And then one other thing, and looking at the plan versus the proposed future right of way, I know you guys had some concerns about that. Can we pull the monument, or I guess that's what I'm going to call it, on the corner of Division and Mount Juliet Road? Can we get that out of the right of way? We can? Okay. Outside the future right of way, yeah. Outside the future right of way.
Yep.
On that right there, that'll be a welcome feature for that corner there, and want to make sure that try to live in the world to not do things twice. So I guess a question back for staff and trying to hear their concerns in regards to the right-of-way dedication. Should we delay that dedication in lieu of, can be appreciative of the complications to move a water line such as that? How would that work from our standpoint? Yeah, you can address that?
Yeah.
Please.
So current requirements with staff is they now have to, any right-of-way dedication or easement has to be recorded prior to grading permit issuance, right? Just to make sure it gets done. We're in agreement with that. We can dedicate the right or record a right-of-way reservation document establishing that future right-of-way dedication prior to grading permit. We have no problem with that, which would still technically follow current staff requirements. And it sets it up, the owner's agreeing to it, and just move on at a future date when it's needed. It's already documented that it'll be dedicated.
You're in agreement to dedicate that right away.
Correct.
Does that, Ms. Hamlin, would that satisfy us for, I mean, I guess they're dedicating the right of way. So gets, that would be absolutely wonderful. Yes, I understand. Please. Yes, sir. Please, please.
Access to Mount Juliet Road.
No project, more than likely. Again, I think all we're doing is just asking for the option to go to TDOT and see what they say. But
Well, I
need-
like your project. You know, it's just a lot of work I know y'all put into it. But to sit back and watch that traffic, particularly later in the afternoon with the traffic going out, same thing basically even in the morning. And then I'm not real sure how you're going to keep the people from trying to make a left turn there, go all the way across to go back to the Willoughby Station side or to the south or west, I mean, with just a very short distance to do it in. I'm not real sure it's going to work at all with what y'all have here right now.
Any additional comments while we let Mr. Barlow get settled in over here?
Well, I have a question.
Please.
Is it right out only or right in, right out?
Right out only.
Okay, because on L100, it still shows, it looks like it shows,
And
but it
that's
still shows the right in on mine.
my apologies.
Okay.
The landscape architect just hadn't caught up with the revised site plan.
Okay.
Sorry about that.
Great point. Duly noted. Mr. Barlow, welcome to the Planning Commission. We're glad to have you as always. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Didn't want to put you on too much pressure right as
That's
you
all right.
enter the
Okay.
room. But would you like to share your input and comments in regards to this item on our agenda, please?
Yes, certainly. I think, all in all, I think we've gone over this. We've seen this a lot. Many of the comments have been addressed. I'd say probably the two biggest items, which we've addressed, Public Works comment number one, the access, kind of what that looks like and what we've run through. I guess maybe as a background, we've run through something similar with Whataburger's access. And while as that was, oddly enough, we actually supported, that was going from a full curb cut down to a better solution. It was still not what TDOT wanted and definitely didn't meet their standards. And so they changed some things around. And so it was pretty good lesson learned as far as what we felt like we supported or were able to go with. But I think, some of the concerns from that were probably similar to this, the exit out from the site and then the crossing. I mean, you can imagine, there's about 12,000 cars a day that's on West Division Street. You're going to have a pretty heavy interaction of people exiting out of this that are going to be cutting across all those lanes to get to the left turn. So that right turn exit, while, understandable from the development side, it does pose problems from a safety aspect for the roadway. So that's the one which I think we've spelled that out pretty well on our comments. Right-of-way reservation, I think the point to that, one point I'll make about the East Division Street project, currently that is a city project only. So this isn't necessarily something that TDOT is doing. This is something that the city is doing. So There's value in that. I think the biggest thing that I want to make sure that we don't do is that we approve something to get built that we, the city, then have to go to pay damages for to take out after the fact. If we were in a situation where with our widening project, took out the bypass lane, you damage out the whole property. We owe millions of dollars just for a piece of property, when we have the opportunity tonight to make sure that this doesn't interact or overstep into that widening project. So for that reason, we have the comments, obviously, for the reservation or the request thereof. And so I think that's really we are the planning commission, and we need to be planning and making sure that we're keeping in mind what the transportation project is going to look like. We have that under contract. That's in our plan. We're pushing forward with a design on it. So I'd say ultimately, the access is what it is. I mean, ultimately, we'll just TDOT has to have the final say on it. But as far as I'm concerned, the biggest, most important thing here is the reservation of the right of way.
You would encourage to hold this comment, go ahead and get the water line moved. Oh, sorry. Turn my microphone on. You would state your comment to say that if we don't get the water line moved with this, it would be the fiscal responsibility of the city.
It would, yes.
Very well. Questions, comments? Glad you made it, Mr. Barlow.
Ah.
Thank you.
Yeah, happy to be here.
Yes, sir. All right. See no further questions or comments? Thank you. This time we'll call for citizen comments in regards to this item on our agenda. Any citizens wishing to make comment about this project, please come to the microphone. State your name and address for the record. Seeing no citizen comments this time, I'm looking for a motion in regards to this item on our agenda. I think so. What's that?
I can move. But I didn't capture all the changes.
Just only one, just adding that speed table there at the back. Yeah, and just making sure that that monument features out of the future right away.
Do you want to state that?
Sure.
Motion to approve based on staff recommendations and conditions. And Chairman Winchester's
Additional comments?
additional comments on speed table on the
On the southeast corner.
southeast corner. And there was one other.
And making sure that the monument feature is removed out of the future right away, as well as the existing right away.
Or between the double row of parking in the rear to prevent cut-through traffic. Provide curbing.
I'd like that. And I guess important as well to note with that is to work with staff on that curb, because I don't want to add a curb and then create a drainage problem. So not
They could
familiar
do
with how that could affect the drainage.
Bollards.
So work with staff in regards to that item, curb or just something to prevent traffic going through there. I don't want it to create a pond in
Correct.
there because of that.
Good.
Yes. That it? That's a motion. Second that motion. Got a motion and a second for approval. All those in favor signify by saying aye and raising your hand. Aye. Against? Abstentions? So approved. Next item up on our agenda will fall underneath Plan of Services, Annexation, and Land Use Plan Amendment. This one is a recommendation item back to the Board of Commissioners. It's item 5.1, which is to review the land use map amendment and rezone request for the Keel property located at 191 2nd Avenue South. Ms. Amber?
This is just a land use plan amendment and rezone for 191 Second Avenue South. This is just a rezone and land use plan amendment for 191 Second Avenue South. Did I hear you say annexation and plan of services?
No, ma'am.
I'm hearing things tonight. All right. The applicant has approached staff regarding a 3-lot split on this, I believe, a little over 5-acre tract of land for his family to build their homes on. As indicated in our staff report and the maps provided, this is a future land use plan amendment from Parks and Greenway and Town Center to medium density residential and a rezone from RS 40 to RS 30. Staff would not typically recommend a land use plan amendment. However, considering that Mount Juliet Church of Christ owns most all of the property on Second Avenue currently, I highly doubt that anytime in the future, this will be a commercially zoned area of our community. So staff does recommend approval for the rezone and land use plan amendment. Thank you.
Very well. Thank you. Mr. Bartle, Public Works?
Yes, sir. No, I typically wouldn't comment on probably something of this nature, but one thing I will note on your land use plan amendment, you do see a little small sliver of Parks and Greenways. The reason why that's in there is for the floodplain, which does encroach into the property ever so slightly, which their final plat, we can correct that with a final plat to make sure the building envelope is not within any of the flood zone, but it's barely in there. So that's something we can correct with the final plat. Just wanted to make note of that. As far as Greenway goes, this is not any proximity necessarily to what we would construct for the town center trail or the Stoner Creek Greenway system. So I have no issues with this land use plan change.
Very well. Thank you. Got one comment, I guess, to this. I would think this would be the appropriate time to make this one, but it would just be a request to make sure this is served by city sewer, correct?
Yes, it is.
So I would just make a comment to say that only one tap per property, and just make sure that that's clarified, that it's one single family tap for the sewer per property.
Okay. Yeah, that's reasonable.
Further questions or comments from the commission? Yeah. This time we'll take citizen comments. Please come to the microphone, state your name and address for the record.
I appreciate this opportunity. Rosemary Hackney, 187 West Division Street. If you look on the map on the back side where that brown is, that's my property. That's not the Church of Christ property. And in times past, I have had, let's see, when the Trader Court was back there encroaching on my property, building garbage dumps and everything else back there. And after they put Hickory Station down there, they went across my property, putting in water lines and stuff, and then told me after the fact that they had crossed my property and now needed a right-of-way, because I was informed after the fact. Now, I do not know what this is going to do to impact me on my side down there, but I have more property connecting to this property than the Church of Christ has. And at this point in time, my answer is no. I don't know what's going on down there. I mean, there's too much pack and stack in Mount Juliet. The roads are in gridlock, like the last gentleman up here was getting in and out. Most people that I talk to in Mount Juliet says the traffic is impossible, that the Planning Commission does not consider infrastructure in schools, roads, sewers, lines, or anything else. It's growth, to the point it's more cancer than it's regulated growth. That's what I see as the public out there that's not up here thinking every place there's a piece of property, somebody's going to put something there and develop it, regardless of what the life was of the people in Mount Juliet before all this descended upon us. Now, I guess you would say I'm against progress, but when is progress? Or what are we? Mount Juliet, or are we Nashville East at this point? And we're just becoming just another subdivision of Nashville. And the life that we used to have here 40, 50 years ago, which is gone. There are too many people, there's too much traffic, there's too much growth. As far as the people back behind me, I don't know who they are and what they're going to plan. Is it next week going to be rental houses? Is it going to be condominiums and packs and stacks? What's going to go on down there? I hear there's 3 houses and there's going to be a family down there. What's it tomorrow? Anyway, that's my opinion, and probably a lot of people in Mount Juliet's opinions from people I talk to. They're not here tonight, and they probably won't ever show up. But anyway, I don't know who these people are. I've not been contacted other than saying, hey, we're having a meeting tonight. I tried to call and ask about it. I get, oh, it's a family in 3 houses. Well, I've been trespassed across many times before with somebody who was just going to be doing something. And I would like to know that my place is secure. I mean, I don't know. They could be terrorists moving in back down there. You don't know who's coming across the border anymore. And that's about all I have to say on it. Unless I can be otherwise influenced to say that these are nice people and they're not going to go down there and tear the place up and who knows what that's going to impact my property. I'm not for it, but I probably will be overruled. But I thank you for your information.
Quick question for you.
Yes.
Do you understand what they are asking for?
What I understand is they want to divide up into 3 plots down there.
Yes, ma'am. What you'll end up with, just to make sure it says like you had some or didn't get the answers, you'll have a 1 acre lot, a 0.65 acre, so almost a 3/4 acre lot, and then another 0.74 acre, which would be a 3/4 acre lot. So really the impact would be, currently it looks like, it appears that there's 1 house on this property, and should this pass at the BOC, there would be 2 residential houses. And that was part of the reason why I made the comment to only make sure that we had 1 single family tap in regards to the future houses. So and what we're doing here today, should this pass, of course, it's a recommendation item to the Board of Commissioners. So when we do that, just as an FYI back to you, it does go to the Board of Commissioners. And at the Board of Commissioners, it has 2 readings. So I would encourage you once again to follow it through there. But these would be for Mount Juliet. I understand what you're saying right there. I've been here all my life as well. That these would be considerably large lots for Mount Juliet over there.
Well,
and they would be just single family homes, and that's all that is being amended. So in all actuality, this, I believe, would be what I would refer to as a down zoning. And so their request today could actually help preserve what you have right now, because they're requesting it to become amend the land use plan for a residential and away from a commercial design. So we'll get rid of that. And then they're down zoning it to a residential as well. And so should it pass, once again, I'm just one individual up here, it would help potentially to ensure that nothing else happens down there other than a couple of newer
Okay.
houses.
Well, when James passed away, I'd had a verbal agreement with him to buy the place back then, and then it was sold for the family. So,
Yes, ma'am.
and they were told that, they were planning on putting a road from Hickory Station back behind my property, a road to come through there, and then go up to Mount Juliet Road and out through that way.
I wouldn't have liked that.
And they had this big plan. And I turned to them and I said, well, now, that's not going to happen. And they looked at me kind of funny. I said, I own the property between there and here.
Yes, ma'am.
But here's another time when somebody's decided that's theirs and they're going to go through, just
Yes, ma'am.
like with the water line, with the right of way, which, I mean, you know, if I had been really tacky, I could have said, dig it up and move it. But, you know, I try to be neighborly,
Yes, ma'am.
but I'm tired of being walked over,
Sure.
if you understand what I mean.
I do. Yes, ma'am. And that's the reason why I wanted to make sure that it was explained to you as best I could up here, that hopefully that it is a little bit of a benefit to preserve your your dead end right there.
Well, the deer come up through there
Yeah.
and the animals and stuff. And that's why I was wanting to try to preserve it.
Yes, ma'am. And
And
hopefully, just doing residential, large lot residential will keep them deer up in there and keep it to the value that I know it is. I've been down that road several times in my lifetime, and it's a
the-
beautiful, beautiful hidden little stretch, little
yeah, that
jewel in
little
Mount
gravel
Juliet, without a
road
doubt.
down through there, that's I own that, my neighbors. We
Yes,
own
ma'am.
that little, that was turned over. I mean, and we go all the way back there. And so anyway, I'll have to think on it, but right now,
Yes, ma'am.
like I said, I've been done dirt too many times by people taking advantage of doing something.
Yes, ma'am. That's the reason why I wanted to make sure it's as clear as I could make it up here for you.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you for coming. Further questions or comments from the commission? Seeing no additional citizen comments at this time, we'll call for a motion or recommendation in regards to this item on our agenda.
Make a motion for approval, subject to staff comments.
It's a positive recommendation. Correct?
Second.
It's a motion and a second for a positive recommendation. All those in favor signify by saying aye and raising your hand. Aye. Against? Abstentions? It is a positive recommendation. All right, next item up on our agenda is also a recommendation item back to the Board of Commissioners. It is item 5.2, which is review the plan of services, annexation and rezone request for a portion of the Kennedy property located at 1367 South Rutland Road. Ms. Hammond?
Much like our previous item on the agenda, this lot is, the property owner of this lot is wanting to carve off 0.7 acres for their father to build a home who needs access to our sewer lines. And they would like to annex this parcel and rezone it to RS30. Understandably, this is the original parcel is the old Baird farm. They're in the process of restoring this historical home, and they do not wish to annex this parcel right now just due to simply because of our codes. And I understand that completely. Staff recommends approval for this annexation and rezone to RS30.
Wonderful. Mr. Barlow, any comments from Public Works on this one?
I'll pass it off to Shane. I know he's had a little bit more discussion on the sewer aspect of it.
Please, Shane.
Talked with the resident that's in question on annexing, and the issue is he wanted to tie into the city sewer, which we can make possible pretty conveniently, pretty easily, tying into a manhole just to the east of him. So once he obtains any easements he's got to get, we'll work with him on tying into the sewer. Like I said, he indicated to us that easements won't be a problem to receive, since I believe it's the son-in-law that owns property. So they're working together, and he just wants the city services and primarily the sewers, and we can make that work pretty quickly, or in a quickly manner for him. Once he annexes in, and once he's ready, he can just give us a call.
Wonderful. Thank you. Questions or comments from the commission? Do want to hold the same comment that I made on the previous request before us, that a single tap for one single family home, should this pass, be made. Ms. Hamlin?
Would you mind if we hold that for the final plat when it comes through administratively, since this is not a PUD, a straight zoning, and we cannot
Be
have conditional?
fabulous. Yes,
Thank
ma'am.
you.
Well, the owner's here for this. I really don't have a question for you on what you're doing. Really, I just want to say more or less that that house that you are remodeling, I think is awesome. I've looked at it for years. I grew up in Belinda City and used to go down the one-lane gravel road back through there and used to pass this house as a kid on my little Suzuki RM80 motorcycle, sometimes really late at night, unbeknownst to my mother. But I applaud you for, I applaud you guys for what you're doing for the renovation of that house up there. That is a lot of character,
Yes.
and a lot of people would see land and not the character in which that house emits. So I applaud you guys for doing that. Remodeling something of that age is not easy.
1890.
1890
Yes.
is the date of that. Go and give us your name and address just for our record.
I'm
Please.
Kerry Smith.
Yeah.
I'm the son-in-law of John Michael Kennedy,
Okay.
who owns the 5.71 acres.
Very
And
well.
when he bought it from the seller, one of the conditions was that he would restore that instead of selling it to somebody that would tear it down and,
Yes, sir.
build a lot of houses on it.
It's a
So
big
he-
commitment.
So he's going to keep 5.01. I'm going to have 0.7,
Okay.
and I'm going to build my last house
Very well.
there. Me and my wife.
Well, please share that. Certainly, from my standpoint, I applaud them for the effort and for restoring that house that just it reeks character, and
Yes.
it's a very, very easy thing. It's nice to see some folks taking the hard way, and certainly taking the hard way by renovating something built in 1890. So
Thank you.
it's a beautiful home. That's all that I have. Mr. Barlow.
Make a plug. His son-in-law does have an Instagram page. If you're so inclined to have Instagram or like to go on Instagram, I'm not normally going to do anything like this, but check it out because it's absolutely incredible the work that he's doing. It's called Re-Origination, all one word. It is absolutely amazing. Got to talk with him about it. You're talking about taking a historic structure and making it and turning it into something that's livable. He's redoing the entire foundation to it, taking off the boards, reusing the boards. It's absolutely incredible. He's salvaging everything he possibly can and matching everything that he can to it. So, I mean, when we talk about historic restoration, I mean, you go downtown to Nashville and you go down Music Road, you talk about all the buildings that are getting torn down. This is maybe one of the most historic homes we have in our city. Maybe it's, I'd say, one of the most character. There's just a few of those, and this is one of them. It's a treasure, and this house was not far from falling down, and he's taking it and making it something that is going to last another 100 years.
That's amazing. Amazing. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
This time we'll call for citizen comments in regards to this item on the agenda. Any citizen wishing to make comments, welcome and encouraged to do so. Please come to the microphone, state your name and address for the record.
Good evening, Kristen Beckstead, 443 Valley Spring Drive. Wish you could hear this too.
Yeah.
We might be the most thankful. Our property has the most adjacent piece to that 0.7 acres, kind of right in the back. So we might be the most thankful of that getting carved off for a single family designation, similar to what you mentioned earlier, but not being commercial, not being PUD, all of that. The one, and this might not be the appropriate time, it might be more for the final plat, but just, that house sits beautifully at the top of that hill, and where the 0.7 acres is, my only kind of concern would be, especially because all of the development below, like where our neighborhood is, was, just a PUD, Jones development, a lot of digging out and backfill. And of course, I don't know what all that looked like at the time, but just would be the integrity of the hill and the drainage. And so potentially, I want to say that RS 30, is it a 20-foot easement for the plat typically?
Your side setbacks on that.
20?
The 20.
25. It's 25.
It is
25
25?
feet side setback.
Okay, because that was
RS30.
would be just my concern, because literally it starts to peak that hill right there, right at the property line, but just some sort of easement so that between we're in sinkhole country and again, who knows what kind of backfill and whatever happened with that, with the grading the PUD, but just for that final plat, that would be our only concern, would just be especially if, you know, they're digging out basements or pools or, you know, who knows, you know, whatever could go in there, would just be that we don't have an issue where the hill starts crumbling and in any way, form or fashion, or drainage too. Cause I mean, we've got a whole cul-de-sac there at the bottom of the hill.
Sure, great point.
Thank you, guys.
And if they pulled their building permit, as you've seen, when you do a building permit, they will be required, especially on that slope as it goes downward, they'll be required by the building department to install a silt fence as a barrier. So as they are disturbing that property, that will keep any potential runoff contained within that site over there. And so they generally put that in the area just off of where they're going to disturb the property.
Okay.
So, and then they have to maintain that throughout the entirety of the project. And even one like this, the city's ordinance requires you to have, I think, 80% established growth from your front to your back corners on a property, which means by the time that they're looking for their certificate of occupancy, they must have reestablished grass growth that would help that, I guess, the runoff potentially down there on it. It's a good point.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. Any additional citizen comments at this time? Seeing none, looking for a recommendation in regards to this item on our agenda.
Motion for positive recommendation to the BOC.
I'll second that.
I've got a motion and a second by Commissioner Rast. All those in favor signify by saying aye and raising your hand. Aye.
Aye.
Against? Abstentions? That is a positive recommendation. Next item up on our agenda is item 5.3. It's also a recommendation item back to the Board of Commissioners. It is to review the land use plan amendment for the project Jolene Outparcels located off Golden Bear Gateway. So, Ms. Hamlin?
Is a land use plan amendment only for the applicant is Mr. Lineberry with Lineberry Properties. They are asking for a land use plan amendment from Business Development Center, which supports more of those industrial type uses, to thoroughfare commercial. Anybody that has sat on this board knows how I feel about getting away from industrial along Golden Bear Gateway. I don't believe it was designed to be an industrial thoroughfare, and I'm most excited to see this come in for some commercial activity. You will see in the future a major amendment to the master development plan when he comes in for his zone change to that CRC PUD. And ultimately that amended plan with the proposed uses, one being a gas station, possibly a liquor store, and some opportunities for restaurant and retail at this location. He has reserved the remaining out parcels as the IR. I believe he has some interest in a storage facility. It would be an indoor type facility. A little different than what we're seeing on Lebanon Road, but more like what we have at the interstate. So I'm most excited for this land use plan amendment. Again, I don't recommend these very often, but I do support this request. Thank you.
Anything from Public Works in regards to this?
No additional comments.
Wonderful. Thank you. Representation for the project, name and address for the record.
Mark Lineberry, representing the project. After that send up, I don't think I want to say anything.
Wonderful. I guess just one, because we got your concept plan on the gas station right there. Just to hold true to the comments that we held on, what is this, 7-Eleven that's there? To the 7-Eleven.
7-Eleven's down the street, yes.
We'll just want to make sure that no overnight parking
Oh, absolutely not.
for that over there.
Right. We don't have any intentions of that. It just, there
Perfect.
would be diesel pumps, but not overnight parking. It's not intended to be a truck stop. No showers, things like that, like you would find at a truck stop.
Perfect. Thank you. Questions or comments from the commission? Thank you. See no questions or comments. We'll call for citizen comments in regards to this item on the agenda. Anyone wishing to make comment is welcome and encouraged to do so. Please come to the microphone. Seeing no citizen comments in regards to this item on the agenda, looking for a motion for recommendation in regards to this item. I'll make a motion for a positive recommendation. Ooh, we got a lot of ties in here tonight. We're going to have to get some paper, rock, scissors, what we're going to have to do. All right. I got a motion and a second for positive recommendation. All those in favor signify by saying aye and raising your hand. Aye. Against, abstentions. That is a positive recommendation. Next item up on our agenda falls underneath a PUD amendment. It is also a recommendation item back to the Board of Commissioners. We're going to be keeping the Board of Commissioners very busy, it looks like. It's item 6.1 is to review the PUD amendment for Tomlinson Point located at 2844 Curd Road. Ms. Hamble.
Thank you. While these amendments are minor in nature, we at this body do not have the authority to change conditions that the BOC placed upon a development. Therefore, it is that major amendment. One of the conditions was amenity center shall be completed prior to the issuance of the 71st building permit. The applicant has come in with concerns on timing and does not want that amenity center and pool area to be open in the winter time or too late in the season to open. So we've backed that down to the 66th certificate of occupancy, and they've agreed to that. They are also interested, if you remember, this came in under a Beezer, I believe, development, if I'm not mistaken, and since then Toll Brothers has picked it up. And I was lucky enough to take a trip to Atlanta and visit some of their developments, and they have a really nice product, and not all of those meet our residential design standards, and they are interested in doing something more similar to Jackson Hills in nature, which is exciting for our city because Jackson Hills is a beautiful development in my opinion. I know that I have spoken with some of you who have expressed concerns about some of this percentages that they're proposing, how it goes down to a minimum of 10% of that secondary material. And I feel like they're probably open to discuss that should you ask them to come up and talk about it. But staff does recommend approval of condition 12 amendment and some type of waiver for the residential design guidelines on their materials. Thank you.
Wonderful. Anything from Public Works on this one, Mr. Barlow?
Got some pretty pictures. That's about it.
Good. It's important. Let's go ahead and ask for representation in regards to this project and name and address for the record, please.
With me, my client, Michael Burton with Toll Brothers. We have no conflict with the comments, so we're just here to answer questions.
I will say one of them that I had, and especially after looking at, as Mr. Barlow said, the really nice pictures, is I'd say I'm not really a fan of allowing to go down to 10%. I think 10% is a little bit of a bottom right there. At the same time, I think that imposes an undue burden upon city staff from the building department. I can see an error waiting to happen. I guess from my personal standpoint, and of course, that's why I bring it up and for discussion here, not knowing what everyone else would want, but I would rather see your neighborhood just go to a 50%. Get us in compliant to 50%. I think that we still have a condition about corner lots that where I forget high impact lots. The high impact lots would need to go back to the 100% because they'd be denoted impact lots. That's right, on those elevations. So your impact lots still hold to city standards. Got some concerns to 10%, but from my personal standpoint, and I'd love to hear feedback or discussion, should there be any, and just allowing you guys to take it at 50% for your neighborhood. And was told by staff, my main concern, anytime that we should grant that variance would be vinyl, and we're not allowing vinyl right now anyway. So So I could be okay with just doing the neighborhood. I think it's a recipe for disaster where it's trying to split up, hey, 50% of your home's this, 50% of that. And then when you guys apply, we don't necessarily have that review process downstairs. Makes it seamless for building staff downstairs, gives you guys the autonomy as you design your plans out there. Hopefully that would be something that you guys would that be acceptable to you guys to just do your whole neighborhood at 50 or allow that variance to just say 50% for your whole neighborhood.
Let me introduce myself first.
Please.
My name is Mike Burton. I work for Toll Brothers, representing obviously the company. This is our first time here in front of this commission, and I just first would like to say thank you for allowing us the opportunity to be here. I would like to introduce Toll Brothers. If some of you are not familiar, we are a national home builder. We build in 26 states, north of 50 markets around the country. We generally build at a higher price point than some of our peers, including Beazer, who we purchased this property from, who completed the entitlement for it last fall. And our brand is synonymous with luxury qualities of our homes, our neighborhoods, our communities, and for the luxury buying experience that we curate with our customers. And I just want to thank you again for allowing us the opportunity to try to build upon these qualities in the city of Mount Juliet. With regards to your question on architecture and the percentages, 50% on all homes or half of the homes. Our commitment was 50%, 100% brick on 50% of the homes, including all of those high impact lots or high visibility lots. The architecture that's currently being curated for this community, specifically for this community, has ranges from 10 to 50% brick or stone with no vinyl. It's all hardy, etc. While 50% is certainly a lot better, that provides a mix that is, gives our customers more opportunity to customize. It's probably a little bit more than what we envision based on what we've seen at Jackson Hills. If it's 50% of the total 4 sides, meaning one side, say the front could have 90%, and then there's less around the sides, but the average across the home is 50%. That's probably something we could look at more closely. When I hear 50%, it means the first level of the 2 levels will have brick or stone, and then hardy or such above. We haven't looked at that as a architectural option yet, and I think we would need to go back and look at that. But here to answer more questions, of course.
My only thing was, I agree with Mr. Barlow again. I really enjoyed your pictures, but the 10% one did not enjoy that picture.
Sure.
Especially on those side elevations.
Yeah.
When you and I spoke about it, it's really those side elevations. The front elevations aren't really terribly under bricked to me. I think they are really nice, but it's so monotonous on that 10% side of those side elevations, which is it's almost
when you truss
a
them,
lot.
you create when you do your truss roofs and whatnot. It looks like your plans are drawn to be. When you truss them, you create that monolithic side like that, and that's essentially what we're trying to avoid out here. That similar roof line, similar side facade, as well as the front. I mean, and being able to shake it up, and that was the hope, is that you could use a 50% to be able to get an architectural design there that that would accommodate the whole neighborhood and give you the flexibility throughout your neighborhood to be able to do that. And it was the ones below that 50% mark in reviewing the pictures supplied to us there that just gave me the most heartburn about it.
Yeah.
And you're right, it can be, that 50% can be manipulated. Hope would be that it wouldn't, but you never know.
We're rule followers
as we get up here.
So if I may, we did propose the 10% as a what is the right term that I want to use? A water table. Okay, so if 10% was just a low water table, it would be pretty easy for us to curate higher water tables, and then also add some of the additional features. I just don't know that it would be right at 50%. In my mind, currently not having drawings in front of me, of course, 25% seems like an achievable amount that also provides a breakup. And also keep in mind there's going to be a minimum of 6 different house types with a minimum of 3 elevations for each home. So there's likely only going to be maybe 10% of the homes across the entire community, about 10%, that would have that lower level of standard, I guess, I'd say.
Once again, then my only concern with doing that would be that even if you went to 25% for that, I mean, you've got PMs on your site, and then you got staff here. How in the world do you maintain that? And then how in the world do you get a buyer potentially for a house that says, well, the house next door can do that, but man, I'm sorry, you can't.
Well,
and it's going to happen.
Sure, absolutely. And we're okay telling our customers that they can't have something because we're going to follow the rules that are set forth by the commission and the community. And we have made clear in our application that we want to impose lookalike restrictions as well, so that there cannot be the same home with the same elevation built next to one another or directly across the street from it. So it provides for a lot of variation in streetscape, which is our goal for this community. Variation in streetscape. I'm sorry. It's just variation in streetscape also mixed in with the beautiful landscaping that's proposed in the community to break it all up, break up the potential for monotony, I guess I'd say.
I'm not a fan.
Yeah, I could.
Please.
Yeah, this is going to come before the BOC, which I sit on. And I can tell you right now, 10% is actually anything under 50%. I'm going to be pushing against it. Yeah, and I've had conversations with Toll Brothers representatives before, and what was painted in my mind was you're a high-end builder. So I like my expectation for the quality of your product is that of a high-end home. So I don't think 10% brick. I don't know. And I know vinyl is not allowed anymore. So I'm open to having some more conversations before the BOC reading.
Absolutely.
And there'll be 2 readings to see if we can come up with the right balance.
Absolutely.
So I just want to, give you a heads up on that.
Sure.
Further discussion, questions, Commissioner Cunningham?
What size of homes do you plan to build in here?
So they range anywhere from, sorry, where did the question come from?
Right here.
Oh, sorry. They range anywhere from about 2,800 square feet on the lower end to approximately 3,700 square feet on the upper end. There's 2 product types, and I guess I would like to share this. As part of the initial entitlement, there were 3 house lines that were proposed. A 40-foot wide single-family home, a 50-foot wide, 40-foot wide single-family homes. I think Beezer has a 45 or 46-foot wide single-family home, and a villa home, which is essentially a duplex. We have eliminated the duplexes 100%. We're only going to build products that are 40 feet wide, and that's 39 to 41 is what we describe as 40, and 50-foot wide products.
So the only product besides brick and stone you're looking to do is fiber cement, correct?
Absolutely, yeah.
And do you use specifically Hardy board, or is it a different brand than the James Hardy?
We've used James Hardy. We've used I don't know if this is the manufacturer or just the name of the material is Allure is another one that we've used.
Okay. I just know they have different quality to
Mhm.
each one. And one withstands a test of time, and one is more of a 10-year maintenance
Yeah.
needed type. Even though they're both fiber cement,
Mhm.
one is better than the other,
Mhm.
which is why I asked.
Okay. We haven't got to that level of specificity yet. I do know that we don't utilize Hardy that comes in a color because of the caulking in the ceiling, and the coloring doesn't always match. We always paint the Hardy.
Yeah.
After sealing.
Okay. And is the request to have the amount of Hardy that you're looking to put on here, is that driven more by just the style and demand of the marketplace?
Generally, yes. You know, the marketplace wants variety, and we're trying to cater to the different buyers and buyer profiles.
Yeah. And I think what I'm getting at is this product, Hardy board, the fiber cement, it's not really any cheaper to do that than it is brick. It's by the time you paint it, caulk it, put it up there, it is a masonry product.
Mhm.
So the fiber cement won't cheapen the look in this subdivision. So I want to make sure this doesn't paint a picture of the vinyl village going up. It's a sharp product, and there are multi-million-dollar homes built with this product as well. I like the dimension you have on your homes. So what I look at is if it's a flat box without dimension and a front door without a front porch, things like that, that to me will not look as attractive as something more like what you have here, which has a front porch and a lot of dimension to the home. So I think you're bringing a lot of quality with that, which I'm not surprised, because Toll Brothers has a great reputation nationally. So hopefully we can work together as a body with you to welcome you to Mount Juliet and bring your product here.
Thank you very much.
Well
And,
said.
and we're absolutely here to work with you guys as well. We recognize that there's design standards for a reason, and we are making a request to differ from what was previously approved, and we recognize that, and we're certainly want to work with everybody here as well. Our ultimate goal is to provide variety, and in a number of our communities, I relocated to Nashville from Virginia, where we built master plan communities that ranged in the thousands of homes. You know, our ultimate goal is to provide beautiful housing in a beautiful community with a luxury experience, and work with everybody who is a stakeholder.
Further questions or comments?
I'm just going to vocalize my comment. That my concern is if we go down to the 10%, we're going to get that same request from the next developer and the next developer and the next developer. And, you know, what kind of a road are we going down? I would struggle to allow 10% when everybody else is being held to a different standard.
Further questions, comments?
I don't know if this is the place to say this or the time is right now, but you know, if the commission here today would like us to make a commitment to a lower range of 25 to 50%, and you know, I can certainly make that commitment today. If the ask today is for all 50% on 50% of the homes, or up to 50% of the homes, we would need to go back and do a lot of drawing work on that to see how it would work with the curation of the architecture that we're currently doing.
Would you prefer to defer and go back and discuss that, or would you prefer us to request a motion in regards to this item on the agenda?
No, just remind them this goes to the board.
Yeah, yeah, and it is a recommendation. So if we were to say, as I've expressed to you, if I were to make a motion, and
Modifications can be
say
made between now and
50%,
then.
the Board of Commissioners, you do have 2 readings there, and the Board of Commissioners could say 10%.
Sure. Are there any other comments, questions?
I will say I agree with no problem with your 66 CO on your amenity, so no issues there.
Great.
Makes sense.
Just for clarification going forward, is it the side and the rear elevations that you guys are most concerned about? I know that, as Darren has stated, that the fronts provide a lot of dimension, and it really doesn't look bad with that 10%. It looks like a really nice product.
Yep.
So are you suggesting that maybe on the side and rear elevations that they take a look at those? Are you okay with the 10% as proposed on that front elevation as they have pictured here?
I kind of agree with Darren on that. I mean, I agree when you get a little bit of ability to shake it up. I think that as they've probably observed over there in Jackson Hills, and I've got many friends that live over in Jackson Hills. I think that's certainly been a success for that neighborhood, is your ability to shake up the facade. They're the only neighborhood in the city limits that I believe that we allow that to happen, unless you get a pocket lot somewhere. It's the monolithic sides and the rear. You know, if I sit on my back deck, I got to sit and look at, or patio, I'm looking at that. I'm a homeowner, and so that's going to probably be my view if I'm enjoying a barbecue or having friends or family over, and just, you know,
Right.
it's my biggest.
I might be stepping outside my lane as an engineer a little bit here, but I am a numbers guy, and the other engineer up there mentioned something. It got me thinking. So you've got the proposal of 50% is 100% brick and stone, and you've got the other 50% is 10 to 50%. And something that I think that, if I recall from Jeffrey, you probably help out on this, but from Jackson Hills, I think what it was however many, is like every 4th home could be hardy, or 5th home, or something like that along those lines, which would, you know, if you said every 4th home, that's 25% of the homes could be that. And I'm thinking that's what Jackson Hills, it was somewhere around that.
It was Bradshaw Farms, and I know that you live in your engineering position, but Mark in building codes might not love you for making that.
He wouldn't like me for that. Sorry, Mark.
Which is why I put that
comment.
comment in there, and he's right. But you are also making a great point that it is incredibly difficult for staff to keep up with. 10% of the homes are going to be 100% brick or stone, and then 40% can have 50. You know, I mean, but one thing I did want to point out to you is this is a 100% brick elevation, and it is just as monotonous as the one with all hardy. So that's just some food for thought.
Yep.
I am excited for this developer to come and make their way into our market. Like I said, I did tour their facility, and they have beautiful homes. So staff does support the 10%. I agree that the sides are blah, but they are with all brick too.
How can we do it then, for the magic question? How can we do it and not create a potential issue for your building department?
Well,
if you
if you
separate
could,
it like they're requesting.
sure. So
That's-
your suggestion was for 100% of the homes to go down to 50% secondary material on each elevation. I didn't know if you were willing to compromise on that, maybe meet in the middle. I think he suggested the 25% for each elevation. That might give you a little more of that dimension that Mr. Cunningham was talking about. At least you'll have some different materials, and it wouldn't all be the same. And quite frankly, that would help on the brick too.
Sure.
I mean, and if you did, they have listed in here, you can see a streetscape rendering. And actually, if they did commit to some of that 100% brick, it does kind of break it up a little bit. So you have, you know, the sides would be hardy there, but then you go back and you have a little different, you know, so that does break that up a little bit.
Yeah.
On the streetscape side of things. So
That picture right there is the one that I did enjoy. Right there, I
Right.
agree. Yeah, especially if you include the architectural accents as well as part of what you guys are doing.
And
So-
that's the intent.
So maybe do the 109 at 100% brick or stone, and then 109 at 25%
Or greater.
brick or stone or greater, minimum of 25, minimum of 25% brick or stone.
You're gonna see it again.
I did add the condition that they are to certify a matrix and keep up with their own percentages, so.
Happy to do that.
Yes.
Commissioner Cunningham?
Into that tonight.
I could.
I'm with you. I think Mr. Kirk might find both of y'all.
He probably is going to kill us, but we'll be sure to give him some nothing but cancer.
Understood.
Yeah.
Understood. Once again, it will go through 2 readings at the Board of Commissioners. The Board of Commissioners might see something a little bit differently, and should they do that, I'll give you that opportunity. Further questions, comments?
No.
Perfect. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
With that being said, I'd like to call for citizen comments in regards to this item on our agenda. Any citizens wishing to make comment are welcome and encouraged to do so. Please come to the microphone, state your name and address for the record. Please.
Hi there. I'm Becky Veneto, 432 Parish Hill. And, sorry.
Bring the microphone down.
Yeah, yeah,
Oh,
yeah.
Sorry. And we are going to back up to this development. We've had this beautiful field forever behind us. We knew it was coming, and now it's here. Just one concern, well, several concerns, but one of the major ones is Curd Road. There's going to be 200 and something homes going in here. We can't, as of now, even turn left onto Lebanon Road because of the traffic. There's no light. There's no way. Now we go around and get on Golden Bear Gateway to try and at least get out on the light, but that backs up terribly, especially with schools in the morning. So I don't know if there's a proposal out there for doing something with the roads to help with the growth, but it would be much appreciated.
Yes, ma'am.
The other thing is because we back up to this field where the homes are going to be developed, is there any type of easement or anything in between our properties? I know nothing about building. We have along our fence line beautiful, huge trees that have been there longer than we've lived there. And for privacy purposes, we would really love, they're just right along our fence, to keep those trees. And I don't know what the process, or if there is an easement between our property lines that you don't tear everything down, but just a question.
Sure. Let me help you with both of those because we got just the right people for you to answer each of them. Let's start, Ms. Hamlin, about the buffer.
20-foot landscape buffer around the perimeter of the development, and I'm 99% sure, because that's a standard comment for me,
Sure.
to preserve as many trees as possible along the property line to maintain that existing vegetation.
So you've
Awesome.
yeah, so that right there should hopefully you're in an area, either if you're open field, you're gonna see a house. If there's a
Oh, yeah.
tree line,
No
it
doubt.
should be preserved as part of it.
We just love our trees.
And then we have Mr. Barlow, our Director of Public Works, that should be able to speak to you. I know it's all over his radar about that stretch of Lebanon Road and Curd Road and
It's a
Bender's
tough
Ferry
place.
and Golden Bear and everything right there. So, Mr. Barlow, will you share some thoughts on that?
Yeah, certainly. I think there's kind of a pending improvements and then improvements that we want to be looking for long term. So, one of the issues we looked at on this was the proximity of a signal at Curd Road. We've looked at that a couple of times. If you remember, we had a commercial development there on the other side. It was a beer barn, I think, was what it one
Oh, yeah, the drive-through.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The signal was discussed then. I remember that. And that actually preceded this development. And so we looked at the spacing of the signals would not work for TDOT standards or really good progression. But one of the issues is, however, the queue spill back. So I'm sure you're familiar with this. It spills back from the signal to where you can't turn. And so we are looking. So one of the things that this development actually is doing is to adding a right turn lane on the westbound approach. We're working as a city on a right turn lane for the eastbound approach. We're working with the development on Bender's Ferry on southbound approach, and those things together will help the signal, at least in the interim. And then TDOT is well underway. We're working with them on that for widening that stretch. It's going to be a 5-lane roadway, which will at least give you a center turn lane to be able to turn into as a refuge place. So that's a big plus. We're excited about that one going along, and we're pushing along with TDOT on that one as fast as we can. Still years out in the making, but we're trying to get the little things going in between now and then. So I understand that's an issue, definitely, and anything that we can try to do to help that in the meantime, actually using the developments to help it. It's kind of, it's one of the things that we try to have them help and take care of. So I can't promise you that it makes it easy to turn out because
That's
can't
not
take cars off the
Juliet.
road. But we are definitely working in that direction.
Thank you
Wonderful.
so much.
Does that
I
help?
appreciate it.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you. As well, if you're around at the end of the meeting, you're welcome to have my copy of what they're going to be doing over there. Yeah, you feel free to take it with you right there. And if you happen to leave, yeah, please.
Mark Holt, 900 Bass Lane. I have a parcel on Beckwith Road where the right of way of their property comes right beside my property and Mr. Farmer's. I wanted to answer a few questions if you needed about Hardy. I've been doing Hardy for 18 years. That's your best fiber cement product on the market. It's the only fiber cement product out there that doesn't have fly ash in it as a filler. You cannot beat it. The only thing that's better than that is brick. I promise you. That's the best stuff on the market. Other than that, I just wanted to let you know that if you got any questions, I'll answer them.
Awesome. Thank you.
Okay?
That's good stuff. Thank you.
You bet.
Any additional citizen comments at this time? See no additional. I'm looking for a recommendation in regards to this item on our agenda.
Motion to approve. Motion for a positive recommendation.
With the 25%.
If they're willing to commit to it tonight, we can do it tonight. With the 25% minimum on 50%.
So 109 at 25% and 109, 50 or to 100%.
50 to 100% or 25 to 100, 25 to 50%. Correct. You good with that? Perfect.
100% on 50%.
Correct.
Okay.
I'll make a second to that motion. All those in favor signify by saying aye and raise your hand. Aye.
Aye.
Against? Abstentions? Is a positive recommendation. I had a funny in regards to that recommendation, but I can't really say it. All right, the next item up on our agenda is once again, a recommendation item back to the Board of Commissioners. It is item 7.1, to review the zoning ordinance amendment for mixed use standards 6-104.1. Ms. Hamlin.
This is the first of a series of amendments that you're going to be seeing on commercial mixed-use developments within the city of Mount Juliet. We were the lucky recipients of a hefty agenda with over 1,700 apartments on them tonight before everything deferred off of them. 1,771, I believe. Most of those come in some type of what these developers are calling commercial mixed use, when one could argue that it is more of a residential mixed use. I don't believe that that meets the intent of our commercial mixed use regulations, as a typical mixed use development would reduce auto dependency, roadway congestion. They would promote a sense of community and have meaningful open space included in those developments. Promotes a village style. I mean, you can Google all day long a definition of what a mixed use development is, and we are not seeing that. So this is my first attempt, along with Commissioner Hefner, who I have spent a great deal of time with, discussing this issue and getting a more commercially mixed use development rather than all apartments and a little bit of commercial. I feel like 25% is a good start. It might not be the end mark. We might have to massage this a couple times. John did spend a lot of time reviewing other communities that have that mixed use component in their zoning ordinance, and 25% was usually that mark. So we felt like we'd start there and see what kind of developments we get in return of that. I'm also working with Commissioner Hefner on massaging the acreage for commercial town center, the minimum acreage for commercial town center, mixed use developments to try to promote some of that mixed use downtown, that walkability. Those types of developments are lacking in our community, a true mixed use. I think Vintage Station North really hit that mark. The Village at Pleasant Grove Road did a really good job. They have that meaningful open space. They have that amphitheater area. They're trying to bring everybody in that town center. So this is a recommendation for commercial mixed use only, 25% on your building, commercial 25% on a site. Those minimum commercial percentages. So I feel like this is a start. Again, this is going to be a series. We'll just have to see what kind of developments we get as they submit. I know that Andy has really taken a look at this too from a traffic standpoint, and I'd welcome you guys to listen to his comments regarding that as well.
Mr. Morrow.
And sorry, I think Jennifer hit the nail on the head that, walkability, trip capture, I think about things on a more modern standpoint of how well can you walk. What we say as far as what's walkable, I don't know if anybody's worked downtown or had that opportunity to do that, where you're captive in an area where you got to park somewhere. For me, it was at T-Dot. It was parked up by almost a half a mile away. You had to walk that every day. So when you're at lunch, you're captive. You're captive to the building you're in. You're captive to the area around you. And it's not to that point necessarily, but just the idea that you walk. If you want to go somewhere downtown and you want to go out for lunch, you want to go to CVS or Walgreens, you walk. And the idea of what we've seen, and I remember when Vintage Station North, when it was proposed, and I probably spoke heavily on this, the idea that people can walk to Dairy Queen, Baskin Robbins. And I've seen it. I see people walking to Jersey Mike's. I'm sure Commissioner Hefner.
Many times, I'm sure.
Late night ice creams, I'm sure. Yeah. Pizzas. But that's the idea. It's not that you don't have a residential building or a pocket of residential, but you don't want a situation where you've got your residential way over here and your commercial over here. It's like having a meal and you've got your different foods, or if you've got like a casserole or a salad where you've got the different foods mixed together. And so the thought about it is that 1/8 of a mile is generally considered a very walkable area, which if you put a pin between Station North, the main buildings, and Jersey Mike's, or any one of those restaurants right there, that's going to be within that 1/8 of a mile. And so you look at that, and that's one thing to consider. Yes, you're going to have pockets of buildings and things like that. I think the Village at Pleasant Grove has been a very good proposal as well. You've got, I think, something else to consider, mixed use buildings, which we do see at Vintage Station North. That's a one of a kind here for us, where we have a true mixed use building. I'd say and it doesn't have to have residential in it. Let's take office and retail mixed in. That's another component. Of course, we're talking more about residential here, but you're going to have pockets of developments that are somewhat segregated. You're not going to have a residential home next to a 4-story office building, but there is an idea of this that we want to see things be more walkable. Some of the proposals that were on here tonight that were deferred, I'll be honest with you, their land planning of it really isn't any different than Providence. And Providence was proposed 20 years ago. And where are we? Where have we come since then? Go drive around maybe some quasi-urban areas, go around Germantown in Nashville, go around 12 South, some of those other areas, going around East Nashville, 5 Points, places like that, and check out those areas and see kind of how those areas mix in, how many people walk to those commercial centers in there. And so that we talk about traffic and we have traffic problems, but how do we get the cars off the road? Well, each business, if a trip is generated by walking rather than driving, then we've saved a car on the road, and we've preserved our roads. We can have the development, we can have livability, we can have quality of life, and we can have revenue on other things. Not that that's the end all be all. It's about having a community, but those senses of places where we can be, where you can walk to, where you feel comfortable walking to, and that's the true mix. And I think when you think about mix, think of that definition. What is a mixed use development? It's not having a commercial lot with residential in the back. That is two different uses. It's having those things mixed together and integrated together.
We're passing around the master plan for Berry Farms. I think it does a great job of kind of depicting the vision that we're having for that Golden Bear Gateway corridor. It even has single family mixed in, and it includes a lot of the businesses and types of users that we're seeing on the plans tonight. It's just not integrated in a plan that is conducive to a mixed use development. It's more sprawling, and you have a building here and apartments way over here. I mean, we're just trying to give you guys an idea of what a great mixed use plan will look like. This isn't perfect, and I'm sure that they have things that they could do to change it all day long, but it's a start for us and maybe an expectation to set. I see Darren Cunningham's eyes shining, so it's a beautiful development.
This is huge. This development's massive.
It's 600 acres.
Yeah. So the chance of us getting a 600-acre development are probably, there's like one place you can do it in Mount Juliet.
Well, we had several 100 acres on our planning commission tonight located in the same area. So
Awesome.
Nothing to this scale, but I
Yeah.
think it gives you an idea and expectation of what we have in mind for what a mixed use development is.
It's a great benchmark to use.
Yes, sir.
Commissioner Hefker, you want to provide some input on this one?
Sure. I mean, everything that Andy and Jennifer said are spot on. Walkability, absolutely. Taking more cars off the roads is really a main driver behind this, no pun intended. And 10%, I'm not even sure where that came from.
I could tell you, but not on live TV.
Okay. But yeah, 25% seemed like the right, when you and I were discussing this, seemed like the right, it felt right. It could change. And surprisingly, I spoke to a lot of developers, some of them were here tonight, that actually agreed with me on the 25%. So there was, I got zero pushback on the developers that I talked to.
I also did poll some local developers and they had the same responses. the
And
ones that you spoke
I did have conversations with the two applicants, or at least their attorney, on Golden Bear North and Golden Bear South. Emphasized the lack of walkability and lack of commercial. So you can thank me for those two getting deferred. But we are going to work with them to get them to resubmit something that's a little bit more in line with Berry Farm. So looking forward to, working with them, getting that back on there. So, but yeah, I mean, the mayor supports it. He's all in favor of it. So it just needs to be done. So,
Thank you.
Good starting point. So thank you.
It's questions, comments, feedback from the commission. Let's call for citizen comments in regards to this item on the agenda. Seeing no citizen comments this time, I'm looking for a motion with the recommendation in regards to this item on the agenda.
Motion. Positive recommendation.
Second.
It's a motion and a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye and raising your hand. Aye. Against? Abstentions? It is a positive recommendation. Ms. Hamel?
Before you hit that gavel, if you guys didn't know, we are celebrating our 50th birthday this year, and as the city, and we have some posters and T-shirts from our 50th birthday party celebration for you guys. So see us after he hits the gavel in 2 seconds.
Yes, and I want to include one more comment real quick too. So as a requirement for the Planning Commission, we announced tonight our continuous training. So we have that date set. Should you not be able to accommodate that date and you need to look at a alternate source to obtain those hours, we have achieved that through manuals, through videos, through ride-alongs. We have achieved that for the planning commission through various means. So should that you have a conflict with that date, seeing we've only got one more meeting until that, just kind of be thinking through if that date if you have a conflict with that date, be thinking of something, because I believe that this board has to say that that is acceptable. So whether or not you use the videos or whatever.
At the December meeting also, that will be at the December meeting.
That's right.
So
So
try to make it if you can. 4 hours of reading a book on planning and zoning is not very fun, I promise.
a little lengthy.
But,
Mr. Marlowe or Miss Hamlin will be happy to provide such reading material should that arise.
I think you
Might not wish it upon you, but they'll provide.
We're really excited, as Shane mentioned, Shorty is doing a session on plan review tutorial, and I think that it will be great fun for you guys. It'll be interactive. It won't be as boring and sleepy. So
yeah,
I'm excited for him to be able to do that for y'all.
Unlike me, who really dives into the weeds and can probably zone you out pretty quick with the boring details, Shorty is fantastic about putting it in real terms. So he's the one man for the job.
Fantastic. That being said, looking for a motion for adjournment.
Motion.
I need a second. And a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye and raising your hand.
Aye.
Against, abstentions, we are adjourned.